Namaskaram, everybody. Let's begin. Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadhanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Me Sadha Om Shanta Shanta Shantihi Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Sadguru Padukam Pujayami Tarpayami Namaha Māhātmyam Madhukaita Bhagni Mahishaf Pranapaharodhyame Hela Nirmita Dhumra Lochana Vadhe He Chandamundardhini Nisheshīkrita Rakta Bija Danuje Nitye Nishumbhapahe Shumbhadvansini Samhara Suduritan Durge Namastembhike Durge Namastembhike Durge Namastembhike. Welcome all of you for this first session on Devī Bhāgavatam. And today we are going to start with the glories of Devī Bhāgavata Māhātmyam. Before I begin, I would like you all to write the learning outcomes of the Māhātmyam, because the Māhātmyam is the central to understand the entire Bhagavata Charitra. So what is the understanding that we are supposed to evolve as we continue to learn the Devī Bhāgavatam? Number one, what is the glory of this text? What is the glory of this text? I expect you all to have your notebooks and a pen or a pencil. It's not simply a storytelling session where you simply listen and, from one ear and leave from the other ear and go away. There's a lot of homework, reflection, and so much is there where we are going to apply all these principles in our practical life, all of us together, including me. So the number one, what is the glory of this text? Number two, a very important question. Who is the adhikari? Who is the adhikari, the qualified, in other words, to hear this? Number three, what is the procedure of hearing? Shravana Vidhi. Number three, what is the procedure of hearing? And number four, what is the phala? That is the result described. What is the phala? The result that is described. And the most importantly, why listening itself is a sadhana. Why listening in itself is sadhana. And in listening, when you're writing, I would like to write you there in brackets, reading also, because you will be simultaneously reading the Māhātmyam Charitram also, the Bhagavata Charitrams. And when we are talking about reading, you have to make a note that am I reading only information or am I learning reflection? Is it simply reading as information or reading for reflection? Actually, very important. Reading for information and reading for reflection. Clear to all of you? So now, students, the Māhātmya is bringing out one of the foundational truth from these learning outcomes which I mentioned. That is, Bhagavatam is not only about Devi. Devi herself is present in that Bhagavata. Devi herself is present in the Bhagavata. It is not a pustakam. It is Devi herself. Therefore, all the words that are given in that Bhagavata is Devi herself. Therefore, it is appropriate to call the book as Shabda Devi. Shabda Devi. You don't need a Vigraham to do the puja for Devi, let me tell you. With Ananya Bhakti, if you do the Aradhanam of that Pustakam itself, is Devi is accepting everything. You do Sodashopachara Puja, you do Panchopachara Puja, you perform Ashtotra Satnamavali, all the aspects of the only thing is that our mind is not convinced, because our mind is convinced in the form, in the aspect of a form. It is a formless form Devi is present in that Pustakam. Other words, it is a Brahma Swarupam only. Devi in the Brahma Swarupam actually. But only the form is different. Nama, Beda, Rupam gets differed. So Devi is there in that Pustaka form, but we develop that, as we progress, we develop that Devi is no different, which is there in the portrait or in the Vigraham or in the Yantra that we worship, is no different from the Charitra Pustakam itself. Therefore, that is Bhagavatam. Clear to all of you? So therefore, it is Shabda Devi. Clear to all of you? Have you written the entire aspect? Okay. So let's begin to understand the Māhātmya Charitram in a very systematic manner. It is not a mere Puranic narration, but the Māhātmyam is the declaration of the glory of the entire Bhagavata Charitram, students. That is, a Māhātmyam is never meant to be read casually. This is the first rule the acharyas are giving us. It is not to be meant to read casually. It is always meant to prepare the seeker or purify the listener or the one who approaches the main body of the scripture. What is the main body? The Adhyayam 1, the Canto 1, which we are just going to start the next week actually. So therefore, what it is doing, it is establishing the correct inner attitude before one approaches or even wanted to think about the Devi Bhagavata as a Purana. We must understand why the Māhātmyam exists actually, why it was spoken, and why it is framed in a very specific manner. The Devi Bhagavatam, Māhātmya Charitram, that is the opening statements, which we have done the Sravanam, it is starting in a space called as Naimisharanya, the forest of unbroken sacrifice. This itself is significant, students, because Naimisharanyam is not merely a geographic place. Naimisharanyam is actually not even the Puranic imagination. It is the space where time loosens itself the grip, where the urgency of the worldly life recedes, and where the act of listening, that is Sravanam, becomes sacred. The sages assembled there are not ordinary seekers, students. They are the rishis who have already mastered the Vedas. Please understand. The Itihasas, the Puranas, and the discipline of tapas and yoga. And yet, such sages were experiencing what is called as, guess what? Restlessness. They were experiencing restlessness. Then what to talk about us, correct? It is not simply you say that, oh, after learning so much, if they are feeling restless, then we are nowhere there in the student. No, that is not the idea. They're giving the context for us to understand, how knowledge is differing from the experiential realities. So what they are doing, they are amongst themselves, they are finding the most learned individual there actually. And who is the most learned individual, students? Suta. Suta Maharishi. And who is Suta Maharishi? Suta Maharishi is the disciple of Vyasa. And they acknowledge him with great reverence. They say, "You have made us to hear the sacred stories. You are the disciple of Vyasa, endowed with sharp intellect." This is the opening praise and not a sycophant statement or a flattery. It establishes the Guru Parampara actually. It establishes the Maryada for the Guru. The knowledge in the Puranic world does not arise from invention, students, but from listening and repeating. Authority rests in the originality, but in fidelity to what has been heard already. So, Sravanam is the foundation, students. Unless and until we will not develop the quality of Shravanam, we can't sustain in the part of spirituality or upasana. Are you able to follow what I'm trying to say? So, Shravanam is the Māhātmyam actually. And then the recitation comes in. Okay, so Shravanam is the foundation. So moving further, then the sages articulate a question that is extraordinarily important for the time, it seems, for their time. And that question is important even at this moment. What they are saying? They are saying that they have already heard the astonishing deeds of Mahavishnu, that is Bhagavata Puranam, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, that is capable of destroying sins, and the divine stories of Parameshwara, his sacred Vibhuti, his Rudraksha, his history and glory. Yet they are saying, in spite of listening about Vishnu and Shiva, you know, they feel that there is something is lacking actually. Yet despite all these hearing in history and glory, there remains something unresolved actually. They are not able to express. They now ask for that principle which is the holiest of the holy. Please make a note of this, students. The opening of the Bhagavatam, how the rishis, the learned rishis are talking about it. The holiest of the holy, and that which can grant both enjoyment in the world and liberation beyond. Without strain, especially in Kali Yuga. That is the secret code for all of us, especially in Kali Yuga. This question is the existential question for Kali Yuga, as I'm mentioning, and it is not a rejection of the earlier teachings. This is something which we have to understand. It is a honest admission that the multiplicity overwhelms the seeker. Like as I say, there are innumerable gods. Even in Shakti, there are innumerable Swarupams, innumerable Puranas, innumerable Itihasas, innumerable Stotras. So where to go actually? What is the best? To understand this, too many practices, too many vratams, too many paths, each demanding time, discipline, austerity, that the Kali Yuga no longer easily affords. Then the sages are asking, is there any single compassionate essence? Worth to understand this, worth to note it. Actually, the Māhātmyam very clearly opens up. The Māhātmyam clearly promises single compassionate essence that can carry the seekers throughout their lifetimes. Throughout their lifetimes. Then they had something crucial here. They are not stopping here because they are learned sages, right? They say, we know no one is greater than you in Kali Yuga. They are addressing Suta Maharishi, who can remove our doubts. This establishes Suta not just as a creative thinker, but as a clarifier, one who removes confusion. Spiritual authority here defines the capability or the capacity to dissolve the doubt and not to dominate. Not to dominate. So, Suta Maharishi is responding now. Maharishi is saying with all humility, Maharishi is speaking, it seems. He says that their question is for the welfare of the entire world, or the upcoming years to come, or the upcoming times of this yuga, and that he will narrate fully the essence of all the scriptures. And with this, the Devi Bhagavata Māhātmyam positions itself as a complete essence of what he is going to speak actually. The Saramsam that we call Saramsam means the gist of what it is all about, he is going to describe. That is the distilled essence, not a sectarian counter text. Adhyaya 1, therefore, does not declare Devi as supreme. It prepares the listener psychologically and spiritually to enter the realm of sadhana. It tells us why we need a Māhātmyam at all. Why should we need a Māhātmyam? That is a description that is coming up in Adhyaya 1 actually. And in Adhyaya 2 begins answering the question that was posed. That is, now Suta answered the questions actually. That is, he says that it is no polemic, but with quite confidence that among all Puranas, he says there exists this extraordinary Purana that is especially suited for Kali Yuga because it teaches dharma, it teaches devotion, and it ultimately awards liberation in a manner that it does not rely on excessive austerity or rigid ritualism. Its power lies in Sravanam itself. You just need to listen. You don't have to do anything. You just be there to listen. Are you able to follow what I'm trying to say? The Shravanam. Shravanam is very important. One more thing, some of you are sitting like this and all in the class. That is not the way to sit, keeping your hands on your cheeks, on your head like this and all. You're doing the Shravana Mahayajnam. This is equivalent to performing a yajna in itself. You need to sit with utmost devotion and respect to the Bhagavata Māhātmyam because it is like performing a puja in itself or a big Mahayajna. So sit in that kind of a bhavana. So coming back. This is a radical statement, students, because the power lies in hearing itself. You don't have to do anything else. You just need to listen. Therefore, the Mahatmya repeatedly insists that merely hearing the Devi Bhagavatam with devotion yields the results that otherwise difficult to obtain, particularly in the Kali Yuga, where tapas is fragile. Make a note of this, that tapas is fragile and attention is fractured. Attention is fractured. So, therefore, Devi manifests not as a terror or a command, but as a story or a sound with motherly compassion. Story or sound as how motherly compassion. Then the theology becomes very clear, students, because Brahma creates, Vishnu protects, and Shiva dissolves. But their capacities are not autonomous actually. They operate through a central principle which is called as, guess what? What they operate on? Shakti. They operate on Shakti. Without Shakti, they can't be what they are or do their actions of what they are. Shrishti, Sthiti, and Layam, they cannot do if there is nothing called as Shakti is there actually. So this is not said in a spirit of rivalry, students. Please understand, we are not taking a rivalry with other paramparas. Okay, we are not here creating a debate with Shaiva or Vaishnava traditions or no. But this is the foundation to understand the Shakta vision or the philosophy, students. That is the reason the Māhātmyam is very careful. It does not reject Vaishnavas, Shaivas, or any other paramparas. Instead, it includes all of them by stating that every Deva functions through primarily what is called as Shakti. And that Shakti is none other than Parashakti. That Shakti is none other than Parashakti. So Devi Bhagavatam thus becomes not a sectarian text, but it is a unified vision actually. It is a unified vision because nobody can deny the concept of Shakti. Yes or no? Can we deny the concept of Shakti for anything and everything? Without Shakti, can anything can function in this world? Including non-living things have taken a form because there is a form of Shakti in that. Yes or no? You forget about living things. If a table is like a table because there is some kind of a Shakti embedded in it, that it has taken a form of a table actually. So living, non-living, everything has the component of Shakti. So without Shakti, there is nothing is there. Shakti is beyond the concept of life in itself. Okay, so that is the reason the Māhātmyam opens up the statement saying that it is a unified vision. So therefore, by the end of the Adhyaya 2, the groundwork is laid, students. The sages ask for one more supreme, compassionate path. The answer is given in the Devi Bhagavatam, approached not merely through reading. Again, the Māhātmyam is clearly saying it is only through Sravanam. Okay, it's only through Sravanam, sacred listening. Okay, only through Shravanam it will happen. You read, it is fine. But no, reading is not taken into consideration. What is taken into consideration? Listen to the Charitram. Listen. Okay. Now let's go to what the Adhyaya 3 is talking. I hope you understand. I'm giving a gist of all the Adhyayas that we have understood here actually. Adhyaya 3 now provides a narrative proof actually. The story of Ila, also known as Sudyumna, is not merely a tale of gender transformation. It is a profound exploration of identity, ritual error, cosmic law, and grace. A king desires progeny. Due to a ritual irregularity, what happens? A daughter is born where a son was expected. Through penance, the child becomes male and the name is Sudyumna. Yet, destiny is resolved so easily. Sudyumna enters a forest sanctified by Shiva and Parvati in a divine play. That forest has a law of its own. That is, masculine identity cannot remain stable there. Sudyumna becomes a woman again, meets Buddhagraha, gives birth 9 days. That is, Devi herself is saying, students, just this is the pramanam. That Bhagavati herself is saying that listen to my charitram. You keep doing anything and everything, but ultimately you listen to my charitram. And that too, how she is instructing 9 days. That is Navaha Parayanam. Navaha Parayanam. Okay. That is, through the Navaha Shravana, the instability will end permanently. What is the instability Devi is telling students? Tell me. The identity crisis that we carry actually. The identity crisis, how circumstances make us so much fragile, and how we think we are the ones who are the doers, of everything. We have the doer thing, right? I am the one who is doing. Like how this has to go away, because how to get over that ego actually, that I consciousness, that I that we carry constantly, how to get rid of it? Only through the Shravanam of Devi Charitram. That is what Devi herself is saying, and how it is happening through the Navaha Shravanam of the Māhātmyam. Of the Māhātmyam. Through this, what is happening? Sudumna becomes fit to rule and ultimately attains Devi's Sakshatkaram and Devi's Lokam. This is what is the Charitram that has been explained there. We have to reflect one thing, students. The teaching is unmistakable actually. Hearing Devi Bhagavatam is not symbolic. It is transformative. Please make a note of this. This is transformative. It corrects what ritual, penance, and divine boons leaves incomplete. Whatever has been incompletion, this Shravana Mahayajnam will give Sampurnatvam. It will give the fulfillment, or it will bring in completion to this. Not just for this Janmas. In whichever Janmas the incompletions are there, the completion will come into existence. Are you able to follow? That is the reason this teaching of the Māhātmyam is not at all unmistakable. And that's the reason the listening is very, very powerful. It goes to the extent of saying that forget about you understanding the language. Forget about you understanding the language. We are 100 plus. We were hearing the other day, we have started the hearing, the Shravanam of Devī Bhāgavatam, and it is not necessary that all of you understand Sanskritam. It is not at all necessary. That is what the Māhātmyam is saying. You simply listen. Why? The Drishyantam, or the example given is, the doctor prescribes us medicine. Do we understand what is the composition of the medicine? What is the way? What is how we have to only do what? Take the medicine and we believe the doctor that it is going to heal us. Correct? Do you get into reading behind what are the chemical compositions are given, which mg, which composition they have made this medicine, what it is, how it is? No, it is medicine and it needs to be taken. That's it. And we take it for the prescribed days actually. So this Bhagavatam, listening, irrespective of whether we understand the language or not, is not important. It has to get inside us like medicine. It is a medicine for what? For the soul. For the soul to recover. For the soul to recover and the soul to recognize the Shakti Tattva. Clear to all of you. Do I make sense? So, this is the medicine we are giving to our soul. That is, in other words, it is doing the Jagran of our consciousness. The Jagran means the invoking the consciousness actually. Since time immemorial, whatever has suppressed our consciousness, the cleansing is being given, the medicine is being given. Okay? Therefore, moving forward, the Adhyaya 4 continues this logic through another narrative. Okay? Ritavak, the birth of a wicked son. That is the story. There is an astrological misfortune and sorrow, which most of us worry. Okay, this text is uncompromising in its moral clarity, students. A son who destroys dharma is said to be worse than no son. That is what Māhātmyam is saying actually. Okay, and astrology is invoked not to induce fatalism but to explain timing and tendency. Please understand, astrology, all those who have this habit of getting up early in the morning to listen to astrology, please understand, astrology is only meant for timing and tendency and nothing more than that. Devi herself is explaining in the Māhātmya Charitra. The remedy again is nothing but devotion to Devi. Why? Because she is Navagraha Nayaki. If there is anything that is not, in the right fit as far as the planetary positions are concerned, what the Bhagavatam is prescribing, devotion to Parashakti. So, what it is, the Māhātmyam is explaining further. The curse of the Revati Nakshatra. It falls the birth of the Revati, the maiden, and her eventual marriage all to demonstrate that even disruption becomes meaningful under Devi's governance. Destiny is not erased, students. Please understand. This is what is the foundational secret from this particular adhyayam we are learning. That is, destiny is not erased, it is realigned actually. It is realigned. When I talk about realigned, you remember when I spoke about the matrices of the Sri Chakra, I explained how the worship of the yantra reformulates your entire life pattern actually. And the pramanam is coming from where? The pramanam is coming from Bhagavatam itself actually. Okay, so it is realigned. So therefore, what happened? The sages even fixes the fallen star in the moon's path to fulfill dharma. Cosmic order itself bends to the insistence of the righteousness when aligned with Devi. By the end of Adhyaya 4, the listener, that is we all, understand that Devi Bhagavatam is not merely liberation after death. Again, a point to be noted. It intervenes in birth, marriage, our professional activities, timing, and social order. Clear to all of you? Clear to all of you? It is not something that I am hearing for some attaining moksham, that too after quitting this body. No, not at all. It is all about birth and death, and whatever is in the middle. It is covering all the aspects of it in the most practical manner. Then Adhyaya 5, the fifth Adhyaya, shifts completely the narrative, because now directly the Bhagavatam starts to shoot the instructions. This is very carefully we have to understand this actually. That is, now this Skanda, that is Kartikeya, lays down the rules for hearing Bhagavatam. After all, he is son, and he is very careful about his mother, yes or no? And who should approach his mother? So Skanda's intervention is there here actually. This is where the Māhātmya becomes demanding actually. It specifies who is fit to hear and who is not, what food should be avoided, what conduct must be observed, and what mental attitudes must be cultivated as we progress to do the Shravana Parayanam, Shravana Mahayajnam. The text excludes those, to predominantly to make a note, who are violent, who are contemptuous about Vedas and Tantra Shastras, who are greedy, who are exploitative, and who have cynical nature. It is not because of social identity, but because their inner disposition is incompatible with the sacred listening. Hearing is not passive, students. Please understand. It requires four important things, students. Self-restraint, number one. Simplicity, number two. Truthfulness, number three. And purity. Or you develop purity, actually. Either you have purity or you gradually develop purity. And to attain these four aspects only, Skanda is laying down food restrictions, speech discipline, and company restrictions to with whom we are mingling, what we are speaking. When I'm talking about company restrictions in today's modern times, it is not simply the company, the physical company, even the social media company, which pages we access, what we are scrolling, what we are involving, what we are talking, what we are observing, everything is being noted actually. And why it is done, students? Because Skanda is saying only when the mind is protected, when the listener's mind is protected, then the actual working of the